We're back in the bike shed, and thank you very much for joining me, Kasia. And we've been talking for a good couple of years and realised we probably never met.
That's exactly it, because I was thinking about it. I thought, I kind of know about you. We had a chat quite a few times, but we've never actually seen each other in real life. So this is new. So
Yeah, you are my one solo companion on the Clubhouse talk, I think.
Initially,
Yes.
I think it was, but then over time, I think our little audience kind of grew from there.
It grew a little bit. It grew a bit. You're being polite, but you grew a little bit.
I think it did. Although I think it got to the point where, because we were so intensely chatting about, well, pretty much bikes anyway, I think a lot of people just kind of, they were just there in the background, just listening to us. And I thought, guys, you can actually join in. But I think they were quite entertained. So well done to us, I guess.
I think so, for kicking that off. But I think it's strange, actually, because I invited, when we did that Clubhouse, we started talking about motorbikes and women in motorbiking and other areas. I invited people to talk, and actually people said, I'm happy just listening.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I saw that as the sort of the chairperson of the group, so I could see their responses. But I think people were just happy to listen, which I expected people to engage, but actually Clubhouse was meant to be just for people listening as well, I think.
That's true. Yeah.
So I first sort of saw you at the Malle Mile 2 years ago, wasn't it? I think 2 and a bit years ago.
Yes, 2 years ago,
Yeah, and you were helping out there. So how did you get involved in motorcycling? Was it through the Malle experience, or was it through other areas?
So I was riding bikes before that. So I think I started, I want to say 6 years ago, 7 years now. 7 actually. Oh gosh. So it's been 7 years. And then 4 years ago, one of my friends who's also a biker, he said to me, I was marshalling on this amazing biker events. There's all, custom bikes around. People are fantastic and it's just a great atmosphere. You have to go and try it out. And I said, okay, let's go and, give it a go. So then the following year, I turned up to Malle, not knowing a single soul up there, not really knowing what to expect either. And then I found my tribe actually through the event, through, everything that we were doing, through the team I've met up there. And a lot of people that, I met initially those 4 years ago, we still go together each year.
Okay.
So, we created this little sort of core crew of people. And then we have, new people joining sort of each year. And yeah, that's how it all started.
And sort of rewinding back to your sort of first experience with motorbikes, how did that come about?
So I was actually, when I was a little girl, I was just in love with Harley Davidson. My dad was a huge fan of bikes. He never had one, but he always, he just liked them, so he would tell me about them, or, we just kind of spot bikes as they were passing by. And I don't know, I think it was the whole sort of culture that comes with Harleys, and he's a sort of rock and roller kind of guy as well. So I think that sort of theme went through my life as well, of being into sort of rock music and sort of that wild and
Bit rebellious.
Yes, a little bit. Although I don't think it shows that much until I got the bike. I think that was the first sort of sign of, oh, this is really me now. And then 6 years ago, when I started sort of my first full-time job, my mates realized that I'm into bikes, but they were bikers already. So they said, hey, you need to get your license done. We need to do this. If you're into it, we need to make it happen. And that's exactly what we did. So they encouraged me to take the test. And funny enough, my boss, who then sort of became my friend as well, I was riding as a pillion on his bike, and we were running around London trying to find a bike for me.
Okay.
So that was a pretty random thing to do, but absolutely amazing at the same time, because I think, especially as a woman, I came across a lot of sort of comments or situations where females feel like they are not being supported by guys and, in the whole sort of motorcycle industry. But actually, all the experience I had so far was quite the opposite, that actually the guys were always, I think the minute they saw that you're really keen and you're not doing it because, I don't know, you want to show off or something, like you genuinely have the passion for the bikes and the culture.
Yeah, because there's no guys that want to show off, surely.
I mean, well, yeah I know.
Yeah.
But I think because, that's where these guys were coming from, I think that once they recognized that, they were just happy to just support it and, be kind of part of it at the same time.
I had this sort of discussion with Dan last week about encouraging more female riders into the bike shed. And actually, I sort of came full circle and thought, actually, there's not a lot of barriers to entry for women to get into motorcycling, do you think? And
No.
I've sort of come full circle on that. You always don't need to say it, because the bikes are the connection and the environment is the connection. It doesn't really strike me as male or female nowadays, but that's just me. But how do you feel about that?
I feel like I don't think we're that connected yet.
Okay.
I don't think that the bikes are sort of, unilateral to everyone, because it feels like it's still a male-dominated area. However, the more females you see around, the more normal it becomes, I think. So that's a really great spot to have places like this, also events like Malle, when everybody's been encouraged to come down, to ride, to race, to just have fun on bikes. And just putting women as the forefront as well is really important now. So, there's a lot of campaigns that I see on social as well from, for example, Royal Enfield or Harley Davidson, who actually do put females, up there to say, not to say that we are any different, but just to say, hey, there is a space for you here as well.
I also saw that Oxford, I think I forwarded you the Oxford product.
Yes.
They did I didn't know they did a women only day last week, I think it was.
I had no idea either, so that was pretty new. But I think there is more and more actually saying about events and females, actually 6 years ago, so just when I started, or 7, can't remember now, when I started riding, I think I had the license for about 3 months. So, I was a total freshie. I had a Honda CBF 125. Yeah, not much of a bike, but I loved it anyway.
Was that your first? That was the first bike?
That was my first one,
okay.
Yes. So I saw that there was an event called the world's biggest all-female motorcycle meetup.
Okay.
At the Ace Cafe
Yes.
in London. So essentially, the whole idea was to gather as many females as we could to break the world's Guinness record, because I think Australia had, let's say, 550 women attending at this sort of event in the previous year. And they said, hey, how about, we do it better in London? And so we did. I think at that point, it was 660 females who came around.
Okay, that's an impressive number.
It really was. I had no idea that there was this many girls on bikes. So it was fantastic to see not just this many females, but also the different bikes that each of them had. Everybody was different age, different background. And we're like, oh my God, and we all here and we all ride, and it was great. And at this very event, I met 3 of my best friends who I still ride with till now. We're like a little crew of girls. Okay. And if not for that event, I don't think I would have, come across them, in that sort of space. So I think I'm feeling really sort of lucky to have found the right places, to then find the right people, to then create something for a lifetime, really.
Yeah. And if you're a girl or lady watching this now, and you think and I think maybe slightly nervous about motorbikes in general, and I've always said to people, come to the bike shed anyway, you don't need to ride a bike, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
And bikers in general are pretty sociable people, and they'll tell you about their bike if you ask.
Oh yes. Or if you don't ask, they might tell you anyway.
What would you say to the people that are just not too sure about it, but got an interest? Would you tell them to come to a certain location or talk to them? What would you say?
I would definitely recommend going to events, because I think if you go to an event, obviously there's so many people that you're not under any pressure to come up to people, to ask questions, or to really know what you're actually interested in. So if you go to, for example, bike shed events, you can just look around, see the bikes, chat to people. And then I think through those conversations, everybody would give you a little tip, or recommend you a person that they can talk to, or if they're looking for example, for gear, they can tell you, oh, that's a great brand for for females, etc. So I don't think barriers. Again, I think that's just the mindset, and of course we look at the society and we say, oh, actually, it's all men, on the bikes, but actually there is space for us. So I think, if you're a lady and you definitely want to get into it or want to find out more, there's also, I think there's such a big community on social media as well that you can follow, just to get a little sort of feeling of what it means to have a bike, or to ride, or to go on different adventures and stuff. And honestly, just give it a go. Because again, even if you're, really sort of very conscious about, trying out and, I don't know, maybe being judged or anything like that. There's also a lot of courses that are specifically made for females. So if you don't want to sort of hang around with the guys as yet, you just want the female company, that could be done as well. So essentially, at the moment, I feel like there is nothing really stopping you. You just need to make the decision, try it out, and if you feel like this is you, then just carry on.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about trying it out with different communities as well, and and I think last night they had here at the bike shed the VC. Is it the VC community that came and rode down to the bike shed last night? I didn't know that was happening, but
me neither.
So I mean, this is Dan, wherever you're listening, you need to promote these things more. So there's all sorts of not just events, but women-focused communities, bikers that you can be a part of, and I think that feels to be growing. I don't know if that's because I'm paying more attention to it now, but would you say that was growing at the moment, or?
I feel like it is, yeah. But I think also you just need to start with a small group of people, and then it just organically grow, because I feel. For me personally, apart from going to that one event in Ace Cafe, meeting those girls, after that, Malle was the most. I think that was a really big breakthrough moment in my life, because I've never been exposed to such a massive community of bikers, but not just a community, just a community that I felt that I resonated with, which I never felt like before. Because obviously before that, I would go to the different cafes, ride outs, things like that. So you kind of meet people, but it's like a one day, just go for a little trip somewhere, and you don't really. I don't know. I feel like maybe there wasn't the time to really connect that much. I don't know what it was, but anyway, since I went to Malle, since then I started to meet more people, and there was other events that the same community would sort of go to, and then it just grows. And I think, especially with the community in London, which is huge, obviously it's so nice to have those different spots, because if you go outside, obviously there's different cafes and stuff, but I think the bigger events really bring that huge opportunity to meet most of the community that's sort of around the UK.
And in your full-time job, you're a creative, or
yes,
I think, creative?
Yeah, I think I can call myself a creative. Yeah, okay. So I do a bunch of different things. So my sort of professional background is in marketing. So for the company I work for now, I create sort of blog posts for them, take some photographs or collect photographs from other artists, and then just create little reels, little videos, things like that. So it's a mixture of things.
Yeah, and do you find that has motorcycling sort of empowered that position in any way, or do you think that's because I always meet some women that ride, and I don't expect them to ride. I'm always like, oh wow, okay, and then for some reason in my head it sort of stands you out from the crowd a little bit in terms of if you're especially in your creative industry, it shows you've got that side that is a little bit rebellious and a little bit. It says a bit about your character, right? So I'm just wondering has it helped you in your professional life at all?
I think it's hard to say whether it helped or not, but it does bring that little wow factor to the conversation. So every time, we talk about professional stuff and, projects or something, and then, the question comes as to, what are you doing at the weekend? And I'm like, little rides out here and there, go for a countryside ride or something. And people are like, this is interesting, something I didn't know. So I think for me, the fact that I do ride and I started to attend those events and stuff, I think that helped me to almost explore my creative side a bit more. Because as I started riding, I've started to meet a lot of amazing people. And I think, again, with sort of my sort of creative personality, I met people who are on the same page as me. And that was really amazing. So I think it influenced me more than to create sort of my own things rather than sort of in a professional sort of sense. But I think I would definitely, look forward to kind of extend my own creations into the motorcycle world. That'd be really cool. But when that happens, I don't know, but I'm sure you would.
I find that going out on a bike ride, especially over COVID, has been a big release, mental health wise, or just a break from work. And I find that I have quite good creative moments when I'm riding as well. And I think I have to pull over and note it down in my notepad or something.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like that stage when you're half asleep before, like in the evenings, you have your best ideas.
Yeah.
So have you? I know you're speaking to. I've spoken to Henry Crew in the past about, and we were speaking about him before about how it helped with his mental health and his mental well-being. I've definitely found that it's helped me just have a break from the day as a bare minimum. Do you find that it helps with your daily routine, especially over lockdown? Yeah, okay.
Definitely. I think, I won't be original to say that COVID was the time when I really kind of felt it, physically almost, that this is something that actually helps me sort of entirely, because during COVID, I was, so I live sort of outside of London in Swindon area, so a very beautiful countryside sort of area. And, couldn't see anybody, felt very alone, really. And I felt like I just needed to, and also I think because I was so used to being out and about everywhere, chatting to people, just being all excited, to then just being literally stuck at home was just a really hard time. So I was a bit cheeky, I'm not gonna lie. So for example, at the very initial stages when you couldn't really go anywhere, so I live in Swindon. Oxford is about an hour away. So I was going to Oxford to get my grocery shopping done.
Yep.
So in case anybody asked, I was like, hey, I'm just getting milk. I'm not doing anything suspicious here. So, getting on that bike, being out there, feeling that connection with the nature, with the road, and just really cleansing my mind, that was a huge, huge thing for me. And I think also, when it's every time I go on any longer trips or anything like that, that's exactly the same thing. I feel like when I do go, I feel like I can, it's almost like pressing like a reset button, because you're completely changing your surrounding. You're stripping yourself from sort of every thought, every worry that you had before, because you also have to be so concentrated on the road itself that I feel like there's not much time to even think of other things.
Yeah, I think there's two things that I have to de-stress, and that's cooking and motorcycling, because I can't concentrate on anything else. So I can't think about work when I'm cooking, because I'm trying to follow a recipe or trying to think how to rescue a meal. And then it's motorcycling, as you say. I've been running a couple of years, and I'm still, I'm very much in the early stages of still having to concentrate, or still concentrating quite a lot. And I have stereo sometimes now in the helmet, where I've got a little bit of extra capacity, but initially I didn't have that for quite some time.
Same. I think I was too afraid almost to not be fully in control of the surround. Although I do put music on sometimes, but it's on a very sort of low level anyway, because I feel like I need to see what's around. But I think what I wanted to kind of highlight in terms of being this focus on the road is not just from the safety sides, to be like, okay, I'm on the road, that things might happen. But actually, I think for me, it's also the fact that I like to sort of enjoy the little things. So when you're out there on your bike, you almost want to feel like you're really present in that moment, that you genuinely experiencing the surrounding you're in and the journey itself. Because I think for me, the bike is one of those things where it's not really about getting to the place.
Yeah.
It's just about being on the road and exploring and meeting other bikers on the road.
Yeah, no one really cares where you go at the end of the day.
Really,
It's whether it's in the side of a motorway or it's a nice place like the bike shed. It's just choose a destination and we'll go there.
Exactly, that's exactly it. Yeah. And what I felt with bikers in general, I think these are the kind of people that don't really need much time or planning or anything. You literally do a shout and be like, hey, tomorrow we're doing this.
Yeah.
Everybody's on board. So
a lot of my friends hate that. They like to plan in events like weeks in advance.
Yeah.
And I've got a nice group of, Andrew. Who was our third person on the Clubhouse.
Yeah.
I call him up in the morning and say, do you want to meet for coffee or go for breakfast or whatever in London, and we'll meet somewhere halfway just to get out.
Perfect. And that's exactly what bikes are for, it doesn't, sometimes obviously it's nice to plan that sort of long-term big trip, but sometimes you just want to do something spontaneously because you feel like you just want to go on a bike today.
And it's an enabler to be spontaneous, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think you don't have to explain why you want to meet for a coffee. It's
no.
Anyone's gagging to meet for a coffee. You sometimes see it on the Bike Shed members page, like, I'm going to the Bike Shed, who's in? You'd never do that in another community, probably.
I guess so. Yeah,
it's an easy one to, because you might not even know that person. But
sure.
You can you can meet up, talk about your bike, and then go away, and then feel like you've had a good day. Yeah, and I think the image of motorcycling is changing slightly, right? So there's this whole the cafe racer sort of time, and people were really into that a few years ago. And now people are going more to the adventure. It feels like people are going more to adventure bikes. And
you think so?
Well, that might be my journey, but it might not be the same with others. So I think where I got my first bike, my SCR 950, and it's a mutt of a bike, and it's it does everything about 60% well, which is perfect for a first bike.
Yeah, definitely.
But now I'm sort of getting to the point where I can't believe I did the Malle Rally, no heated grips and open face helmet, and now I'm thinking I'd love a heated seat and heated grips, and now I'm thinking, do I want an adventure bike? And, is your bike taste changing as you progress?
Oh, definitely, because I think kind of coming back to the reason why I started, sort of my whole riding journey was because I fell in love with Harleys, right? But then I thought, Harley for a first bike, cruising in city, probably not the good idea. So I had the Honda CBF 125 just because at the time I was also commuting around. So I was pretty much clueless. That's fair to say, really. And then as I started to do more trips with the girls, the little group we have, and I just started to explore different options, I guess, because I don't think I've ever been really exposed to such a sort of variety of activities, I guess, or different things you can do on the bike in terms of, doing green lanes or speedway or, racing, things like that. I've never sort of seen that before. So I think the initial idea for me was to definitely change or have a bike that's good for long-term travel.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what sort of my first thought was, that this is what I want to explore more. This is what I want to have the bike for. And then again, because of Malle, or thanks to Malle, so not in the first year, but in the second year, thanks to my fellow marshal, I actually raced for the first time, which I never thought.
Oh, you did a race, okay.
I did, yeah. So it was quite a funny story, actually, because so in that first year when I came to Malle, obviously I didn't know what to expect. I was just there for the experience, right? And then once I saw everybody just having the best time of their life, I thought, oh my gosh, I want a piece of that. I definitely want to race next year. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's happening.
This is your rebellious streak coming out, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. Slowly getting there.
That's it.
And then as I actually got to Malle, so nothing planned whatsoever. And then I started to chat to Mark, and I was like, I wish I'd race, but I have no bike. And he says, just take my one, just take the bike. And I thought, don't you dare joking me, because I'm definitely going to do it. I said, fair enough, literally take it. So just before racing it, and bear in mind, I had my Yamaha. So at the moment I have Yamaha XG6A version, so slightly bigger bike, but still completely different type to what he had, which was a Triumph Daytona, the 500. It was a very classic bike from the 70s with a gear shifter on the right-hand side.
Okay.
So I've never ridden this bike before, never ridden a classic.
So the brake on the left?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think I rode the bike for about 5 minutes before actually racing it on the start line, which was equally terrifying, but at the same time the most exhilarating and exciting sort of moment of my life. And that's how it all started, So I think through experiencing different bikes, seeing what's possible as well, my mind's just opened. And some years ago, I also did a course at Daythorpe, and I think it's Enduro Day or something like Enduro Experience. So essentially taking dirt bikes out in the woods, just having fun for the whole day. And again, that was my first real experience of being on a dirt bike. And I thought initially, again, absolutely terrified, because I think when you're on the road, you're so used to being in control, and everything's very steady and smooth and sort of chilled, right? The minute you get on a dirt bike and you're meant to go through like a little rocky sort of uphill area where everything moves, your whole bike moves, your rear tire moves, but you're the one who needs to actually keep chilled and be like, no, this is fine. The bike knows what it's doing. That was a complete sort of mind-changing experience for me, because I never thought that being sort of out of control actually lets you be in control at the same time.
Yeah, you push your own sort of parameters, right?
Oh, you really do. And I think just riding in general, I think that really is an amazing way to kind of almost push your own boundaries, or push your limits, or sort of fight your fears in the same way. I remember the first time I went to French Alps, we did like a Grand Alps tour with my girls, and that was the first time that actually I could sort of lean into the corners, which I've never really done properly before, because obviously I was just riding around London at the time. So first day I was like, no, this isn't happening. No, I'm not feeling this. This is ridiculous. No way. And then I realized that I still have the following week of the same twisty roads every single day for hours. So I have a choice of either just getting over myself and actually just doing it so I can actually enjoy the ride, get the right speed and everything, or I'll be just miserable at the back trying to be like super safe and like super cautious every time. So, the girls kind of helped me to understand how to position myself, how to do it, technically, how to do it properly. And then one by one, I started to lean a bit more, obviously different corners, different situations, because I think, especially in the Alps, the roads are so narrow, and you've got like a caravan or a little minibus, coming right at you. So you don't really have that much space to even think about your maneuvering. But that really, again, helped me to really push, my fears away. And once I've done it, I was like, oh my God, that was so easy. Yeah. Fantastic. So yeah, that's definitely
that could be helped. A really good step for people, I think, that think about biking and are a bit scared of the road. Actually doing an quaint off-road day might give you a really big amount of confidence on. So when I did the Wales 500 on the SCR 950 again, and fell off a few times, but I did it off-road, and I was all the other big GS bikes, and it was just me. But that gave me, when I went back onto the road, I had a lot more confidence with the bike, and I could sort of push myself a little bit more on the road because of that experience off-road. So that might be a really good first step for people that may be nervous about the road. But
I think so, because also it's just a different surrounding. If you're in the woods with just a couple of people, it's easier to really find your way. And I feel like because you're not being limited by what's going on around you as much, you can just really focus on what you need to do. And obviously, there's so many different schools, different areas, so you don't have to go to, the really rocky and crazy parts of, every sort of woodlands. You can go somewhere that's just like nice and sort of grassy and stuff. So, that's a nice way to start that off. And I think, again, for me, being at Malle and I did the hill climb as well, which is obviously on the grass a bit. That was, again, I think after having that little bit of experience on the dirt bike, again, racing in that sort of environment, that helped me a lot as well, because I understood, how to maneuver, when it comes to speed, and how to lean with the bike, how much space do I need to, give myself and stuff. And again, because it only takes, a few seconds really, or minutes to, go from one spot to the other, but that just gives you so much freedom and so much joy that it makes you feel like, I want to do this more, I want to explore more. So again, sort of, I think coming back to the question I had before about, if you're not certain about, riding or maybe even racing, what to do. Again, just literally inserting yourself in those situations is the best way. Yeah. Not joking, last year at Malle, there was a lady who never ridden a bike before. I think she had her partner's bike for, all about 5 minutes, and she still raced, she still raced.
Oh, okay.
So, I felt like this has really been courageous. This has really been fun. And again, even though you're racing and you feel like, there is obviously there is competition in a sense, but at the same time, everybody's super chilled and super lovely around that it really doesn't matter. And actually, I think this is the one environment where if you have a really ridiculous bike, this is the best place to be at, because nobody's judging you whether you have the newest, Kawasaki, Ducati, or big GS, whatever. Actually, the more heart you've put into the maybe building a bike, because this majority of the bikes are custom made anyway, or really old bikes that don't necessarily work properly, right? Things actually break on the start line every time, or we get to actually push some bikes out from the start line and things like that. But again, that just adds, that little sort of excitement to the whole experience. So
What's on the radar for you this year? What are you looking forward to going to do?
Not really being original, because Malle, of course, baby.
Yeah.
So,
but new location now, obviously. Did you go to last year's in the new location?
Yes, I did. Yeah. The castle. Oh my gosh, I was, my jaw dropped when I saw the place.
It's a bigger event now as well, isn't it?
I think, I don't know the numbers, but it felt like last year was definitely double to what we had before.
Okay.
But that's what makes it so exciting, that apart from, although it's the same event each year, but it's also the opportunity to meet all your friends, have fun, again, race with everybody. But because we have different sort of entertainment coming, there's also a different team around. So it always feels super fresh when we're there. But apart from Malle events, so there is the beach race in May, then some Malle Mile, then a Malle Rally, which I think I'll be marshalling as well. So that'll be something new for me, because I haven't done it before.
Yep.
With the girls, we are planning to do the NC 500 route.
Okay. Yep.
Just because we, before COVID times, we actually used to do like one big weekly trip every year, just to really, disconnect and really, immerse ourselves in the sort of biker experience. But we haven't been able to done it.
I think that this year in the rally, which I'm signed up for at the moment.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so
I will see you there.
But what they're doing is, because I think the feedback was, because it's such a great trip, right, for that 7 days or 8 days.
Yeah.
But you don't spend quite enough time around the Scotland piece. So you sort of race through it and ride through it, and you think, oh, I wish I'd had a bit more time to sort of explore the area. So I think there's a bolt-on this year for 2 days or so. So you go back along the NC 500, you explore that area for 2 days after the actual rally. So I think that's quite a good idea. I think
that is a really good idea. Yeah. Because so actually me and the girls, we did a little trip around Scotland anyway. We did air hopping a few years ago.
Okay.
So I think that was my first experience of seeing that sort of wild side of Scotland, which I never imagined before.
Yeah, it's like Mars. It's like
honestly, it really is. And the thought that kept on coming to my mind was, this is so close. It was here all this time.
Yeah.
Why was I not here, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Because there's so much to explore. And I found that, it doesn't really matter where we were going, even if that was the tiniest island somewhere, every single place, every single road was just so beautiful and so, sort of wild and just majestic that I thought, what, literally drop me a pin in the middle of nowhere in Scotland, I'm still going to go and enjoy myself.
During the rally that I did a couple of years ago, I was going across the NC 500 on the very west coast, and I was by myself because I'd stopped to take some photographs and things.
Cool.
And I looked round, and it's the first time in quite a while, probably since military days, that I looked round and I couldn't see anyone for like miles. So you could see for like 10 miles, 5 to 10 miles. I thought, you know when you get that slight panic that you're completely alone? And I was like, oh my God, okay, I haven't felt like this in a while. And I thought, if I come off here, no one's going to know. But there's always riders behind you in a safety vehicle and that sort of stuff. But it was nice to have that feeling, and like you say, put yourself out there and forget about, you truly forget about work and you forget about other stuff and you have an experience, which I think is definitely really valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like personal growth.
It is, yeah, definitely.
So you'll do the Malle Mile again this year. You might be on the rally in some format and so forth. And then any sort of trips you're thinking outside of the UK when travel starts to open up? Is there anything you'd like to do you think?
So I don't think I'm going to do that this year, just because I felt like there's so much local beauty that I generally want to explore. That I think also me and the little Malle crew, we're actually planning to go to Portugal next year.
Okay.
But I think we want to make that a really big planned, really organized sort of trip. So I think we're going to give ourselves some time, just because I think this year everything was still a bit shaky in terms of, can we go and when can we go and, things like that. And I think the laws has changed in terms of transporting the bikes and stuff as well.
Okay.
So I think I'll leave that for sort of next year, and this year just Scotland definitely, and then go around Wales probably as well, just because where I live is actually, it's only about 2 hours to get to sort of Brecon Beacon. So I think I'm going to...
Perfect. Yeah. Oh yeah, Brecon Beacon's great around there, yeah. And we've got obviously the Malle Mountains, I think, as well, isn't there? There's that extra trip. Is that this year or next year?
It's this year as well. Okay. So that's in September at some point. I don't know too many details of that, but I know it's something that Rob and Johnny were planning for some time already.
Yes.
But again, because of...
I signed up for that 2 years ago, I think, and then it's sort of
So that's why I think I'm really excited that, everything is not just coming back to sort of full life again, but also there is new things happening. So it almost, brings that extra bit of joy to, to do stuff this
And I know you're on this side of the microphone today, but sometimes you're on the other side of the microphone.
That's right.
And you did I've watched both of your podcasts and video casts, I think, whatever the terminology is. And you're doing that again this year? Do you think you're picking that back up?
Yeah,
Tell me a bit more about that.
So I've created a channel called KatyFlyTalks, where I interview people from different backgrounds who have a passion that I really want to share with people, because I feel like they just bring something fresh. And because from my sort of personal experience, I felt like only in the recent years, I just met so many people who have such a different idea as to what to do with life, and they have so many amazing passions that I've never been exposed to before. So I felt like I wanted to create a platform where I can combine all of those amazing people, and whatever you're into, you can find the person in that talk show that could inspire you to do something on your own.
So it could be anything. It could be knitting, or it could be motorcycling, or it could be it could be anything, right? Or...
I left the form slightly, I did left it open, but I think the things I'm mostly sort of concentrating on is people from sort of the automotive industry, people who do anything sort of artistic, whether that's music or art or anything like that, because obviously, because I'm running the show and I need to kind of be able to connect to the person. So, you could be amazing at something that you do, but if it's not really my cup of tea, we're not going to create the same vibe. So I'm always looking for people that actually majority of the people that I initially interviewed are people I just know, because I also wanted to let people just find these guys and to let them know about, just what they do, just because, I find them really interesting. So I started that, I think 3 years ago or something like that. So I did 2 interviews. First one was with Muay Thai national champion Sel, absolutely amazing woman. So also in terms of the interviews, I wanted to play with the form of it a bit as well, because I did interviews before, but it was sort of, just a quick 20 minutes chit chat about, different projects. Because I used to interview sort of hip hop artists before. And then because I realized that, I'm into bikes and I'm into this and into that, I wanted to bring sort of everybody, into one place. So then I thought that also I wanted to just have some fun with apart from obviously having the conversation, which is obviously great, but just bring a bit of entertainment, create a little show.
It's got to be fun, right?
Yes.
It's got to be fun.
So my idea of doing the interviews was to not only have the conversation, but also step into my guests' shoes to see what their life is really about. What is it that they do, and what is it that, makes them so happy and passionate. So
why are you so happy?
Right?
Why are you so happy?
What's happening?
But you bring up a good point, though, especially with interviewing people you know. I said this to Eva, my partner, yesterday. I said it's really interesting to interview people you know, because you suddenly find out a lot more about them that you didn't know.
Okay.
And the stuff that you talk about on a day-to-day basis, but actually when you formally hold a microphone and start asking questions,
Yeah.
you tend to broaden up your questions a little bit as well. And I think it'd be really fascinating to interview like my family. That'd be really interesting, just for my own, you know, my own personal.
That'd be quite fun.
Yeah, I think so. But I think I'd ask questions that maybe I wouldn't ask normally.
But because I think you're looking to explore something more.
Yeah.
Because if you would, you know, it's just a different setup. If you would just sit in the pub, just having a chit chat, that would be completely different. But because I think you have that in your mind that you want to explore more, that's why I think it makes the conversation, you know, go in a different direction slightly.
It's the power of this little microphone thing.
Power of the mics.
Great. Well, Kasia, you've been amazing with your time. Thank you so much.
Oh, no worries.
I think that I could talk to you like all day. We found this in Clubhouse.
Yeah, we definitely did. It was like 2 hours. Oh my God. Okay.
But we'll wrap it up here and then leave scope for a part 2 at the end of the year to see what you've done.
Yeah.
But I wish you all the very best.
Thanks, Rob.
This year, and thank you again to the Bike Shed for having me interview. And if there's anything you want to say to anyone, then
I think thanks to you, you know, for actually inviting me. Because
problem.
For me, this is a really amazing experience because I've never been on this side. So this is really cool.
Yeah.
But also, I think I just want to give a shout out to all my friends from the biker community. A big shout out to definitely Rob and Johnny for bringing Malle Mile, because again, it saved a lot of us, especially during COVID times, you know, last year and the year before. And I think I just wanted to give a shout to all the bikers up there, you know, for just being brilliant and encouraging more and more people to join the community. And just ride safe. I'll see you on the road somewhere. And
thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kasia.